join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to our regular meeting this Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. Can I, first, any public input on the agenda lineup? If not, can I get a motion to approve our agenda?
Otten, approve.
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landy.
Yes, motion carries. Next on to our consent agenda. Either anyone in the public or on the commission that wants to remove anything from consent. If not, can I get a motion, please?
Otten, approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing regarding the proposed issuance by the issuer of its tax-exempt refunding revenue bonds, the bonds, in one or more series in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $9.9 million. The proceeds of the bonds will be used to refund all or a portion of prior obligations issued for the benefit of the University of Sioux Falls, a nonprofit corporation described in Section 501c3 of the IRS Code of 1986 as amended. The original obligations financed or refinanced educational facilities located at the following University of Sioux Falls properties. And I see we have Mr. Meyer Henry here in our audience tonight.
Todd Meyer Henry, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, acting as bond counsel. This is a hearing which is required. There's two requirements before the county considers the resolution. One is a TEFRA notice was published. That was in your packet. It was posted and published in accordance with the law. And the second is to have a hearing to allow the public to comment. Again, as the notice said, the University of Sioux Falls currently has these bonds outstanding with the South Dakota Health and Health Education Facilities Authority. It's a little more complicated, and they're paying off a large portion of those bonds, which triggers a reissuance or refunding. And they considered coming, since there's 4 local banks that own the bonds, it would be a lot easier to come down and greet you once in a while if we have to do something than to schedule a peer authority meeting. So that's why we're requesting the county to refinance these bonds here. The university is paying off a good portion of those bonds, and when they did, it changed the paying terms, and IRS rules say we have to come and do what we're doing tonight. So we would ask you to consider the motion and pass it.
All right, are there any proponents of the proposed issuance? Any opponents?
Sherry McKinney, Kent, South Dakota. I'm not really an opponent, I'm just a concerned. I read through the information on the website, and I'm sorry, I'm not versed in legal jargon. I would like it explained to us in language that us common folks can understand. And I was just wondering, has this been done before? And God forbid something happens to the college, but things happen, and if they go bankrupt, are we as a county responsible to come up with this funds? And and have we done this before with other 50C3s? And if we do this for them, can other 501c3 organizations come to Lincoln County and ask for request bonds as this for themselves?
Thank you. Any other opponents on the issuance? If not, Mr. Meyer Henry, would you care to address those questions?
Under federal law, the United States did not want 501c3s, which are nursing homes, hospitals, universities, to issue bonds by themselves. So they wrote the law that there would be a conduit issuer, and the conduit issuer are governmental issuers. In South Dakota, it'd be cities, counties, a sanitary district, and the state authority. And so they issue. Our state statute says the counties and municipalities issue this, but they can pledge no revenue, none of their taxing power, and it is not an obligation of the county. They're just a conduit. So they issue the bonds, they loan it to the university with a note and a mortgage, and then they assign it to the banks. So what they are is just a pass-through. It doesn't count as debt. It doesn't count as constitutional debt. If the universities go under, it does not affect a rating or their credit or anything. They just are acting as a conduit because federal law says they have to. And so that's how it works. Has the county done this before? They've done it for Augustana. They've done it for a nonprofit up here. That's been 20, housing in it, or nursing homes, those types. Yes, so the answer is they've done it over the past, as long as I've been doing bond counsel work, they've done it quite a few times for different things. Some small universities do it because Sioux Falls, in this case, the county's not going to borrow $10 million. There's also a benefit that if you issue less than $10 billion, or $10 million, $10 million, it's bank qualified. That gives a benefit to the banks that buy these bonds. They get to deduct interest, they can borrow money, deduct their interest, and then not claim the interest for tax exempt purposes. So that's why county will see it sometimes, because City of Sioux Falls or Minnehaha County will issue more than 10 million, so they look for an issuer that issues less. And so like in the Sioux Falls environs, sometimes it go to the city of T, sometimes it go to Harrisburg, Brandon, as long as this entity is in the environs, which I think we could all say that Sioux Falls is almost attached to everybody here. So did I answer all your questions? Okay.
All right, I'm going to close testimony, commission discussion, and if anybody has any questions for Mr. Meyer Henry, feel free to ask.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
No.
Landy.
Yes, motion carries. Next item on our agenda, we have board action to consider a request for a lien compromise / settlement from 01-11310 in the amount of $2,094. Good evening, folks. Have a nice Christmas.
Yes.
Good evening, Sherry, Lincoln County Auditor. The Auditor's Office received an application to compromise County Aid Lien 01-11310 in the amount of $2,094 on 12/1/2025. The applicant is requesting a compromise of the lien in full. The Board of Commission can do one of the following: compromise per the request in the application, compromise with modification to the application, or reject the compromise in full. If rejecting the compromise, I would like a motion in the affirmative, and the applicant is present.
Thank you. I will leave it up to the applicant whether they wish to come up and speak.
Yes. On October the 12th, 2024, I was falsely arrested because I called the police on my girlfriend. They took me to jail. I went through court for a whole year, which I told my lawyer that I wasn't pleading guilty to anything. Yet they took me back and forth to court for a whole year. Threw the case out. Now they're charging me $2,094 for lawyer fees, which I shouldn't have been arrested anyway because I didn't do anything. So I feel I shouldn't have to pay for something that wasn't my fault.
All right, is there any public input on this agenda item? Sir, you can have a seat, and if we have questions, we'll bring you back up.
Scott Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. I don't know anything about this case, but if what he says is true, he just got hauled in and the charges were thrown out. I don't know why he should be held accountable for that. Bill, thank you.
Any other public input on this agenda item? All right.
Could I have our Deputy State's Attorney address this issue, please?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the merits of the case. I don't think that's really relevant. Just from the state's attorney's office standpoint, I did look into the case. There was a call to law enforcement. Law enforcement arrived, determined probable cause to arrest this individual. Was held on bond, was before a judge, and the judge found probable cause and binded over the charges. The case was eventually dismissed by the state's attorney's office. Again, I'm not going to get into the litigation issues, but just from a procedural standpoint, that's what occurred in this case.
Thank you. Commission, have any questions for anybody?
I guess I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but looked through the file here and I saw that the applicant didn't fill out the personal monthly financial worksheet. So I've got no way of telling what the income is, what their expenses are, tax returns, whether they have equity in a home or stocks, bonds, retirement accounts, or anything. And so I guess on the record in front of me, I'm unable to ascertain whether we should compromise this or not, especially given the fact that a judge did decide that there was probable cause for an arrest.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I totally disagree. I think if it was brought and if what the claimant says is true, he should not have been charged. So that's where I'm at.
I guess where I'm at on this is, being an attorney, if there was probable cause found by the judge to believe that it was a good arrest, I am guessing that he got great legal counsel for that $2,094, and that's what led to the dismissal. So I am not going to be in support of compromising this loan, or excuse me, compromising the lien.
Madam Chair, I follow both what Commissioner Aaron's and you had said. The arresting officer had probably justification in his mind. It went through the court. The judge thought it was arrest that was quantified. So I'm not in favor of any. I'm in favor of turning this request down. That's where I'm at.
Any other discussion amongst the commission?
And I concur with that.
All right, if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion in the affirmative to approve the request.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll, please?
Madam Chair, just one point
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
discussion. I'll be very brief. Just so the public understands, South Dakota is one of the last states in the nation where indigent defense is provided for by the counties. There's no other state in the nation that does that. And so that means that when a person comes into the courtroom and requests a public defender, that means property tax payers pay for their attorney. And so when people come in and ask for those services to be paid for by the taxpayers, in this instance, what that would result in is other taxpayers having to pay for that. And this is a standard process where, you see in the movies and on TV where people say if you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. That's absolutely true because that's what the Constitution requires. But at the same time, you have to pay for that on the back end. And it's either the taxpayers who are going to pay, or ultimately it needs to be the person who received the benefit of those services, whether they're innocent or guilty. Because if we start, as a commission, substituting our judgment for that of a judge and for that of the state's attorney, then we'll just be litigating these cases all day long. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's?
No.
Otten?
So
If you want to compromise the lien, you have to say yes.
okay, yes.
Schmidt?
No.
Putnam?
No.
Landine?
No. Motion fails, excuse me. We'll move on to item 3 on our agenda. Consider a motion to authorize the chair to execute an agreement for detention services between Minnehaha County, Lutheran Social Services, and Lincoln County for the period of January 1, 2026 to December 31, 2026.
Hello again.
Hello.
This again is the contract for the Juvenile Detention Center. Jamie will come in on January 13th and discuss the use that you've had, that Lincoln County's had of the center. But at this point, I'm just requesting that the agreement be approved and then authorize the chair to execute the agreement.
All right, anybody have any questions for our auditor? If not, is there any public input on this agenda item? All right, can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, is there a second?
Second, Otten.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Next, we'll consider a motion to approve policy update for communications department pay to align with the sheriff's office for night and weekend differentials. Good evening, Carrie.
Hello, Carrie Yelling, Human Resources. Good evening. I am just asking for an update to our policy for how we pay our communications department, our 911 officers, to align with how we pay our sheriff's department. So right now, we pay the sheriff's department a 3.5% night and weekend differential, where we pay our 911 officers 75 cents. Sheriff Swenson did budget for this item, and the total cost for the year across all employees is approximately, but probably not even gonna hit $1,000 for the whole year.
All right, anybody have any questions for Carrie? All right, any public input on this agenda?
Linda Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. I'm looking at this agenda and I'm seeing items again where the budget is, we're changing the budget already and it's not even January. And so I realize that this is a small amount, but small amounts continue to build up. And I just wonder why we didn't have the foresight to see this before. Thank you.
Any other public input this evening? All right, if not, can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion,
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, go
Does-
ahead.
Does anybody know why this was the case in the first place? Was it because non-union versus unionized employees? Was that the issue? I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
And just to clarify, it was budgeted. Carrie, yes, it was union versus non-union, but I also want to clarify that it was in the budget. We did put it in the budget. This is it's a policy update. It's an update to the language in the policy. Yeah, so wanted to make that clear.
thank you. Any other discussion amongst the commission? Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is board action to approve 2025 contingency transfers.
Hello again. Sherry Lund, Lincoln County Auditor. What I'm requesting tonight, the first of all, is the 2025 contingency transfers. We are looking at doing the transfers from contingency to the funds to make sure that they're not over budget. We do have $200,000 worth of contingency available. This will take it, this request totals $61,500 for contingency transfers. The first one would be in the auditor's office, and that would be for increased health insurance coverage from the change of employees. They requested a different amount. The next one would be fees and transports for the coroner's office, and that's just obviously because we started the contract with Dakota Transport, and we unfortunately had to have more transports than we had budgeted for, so that is the reason for that that request. The next one would be to mental illness. There were more, about $30,000 worth of cost more for mental illness holds than we're budgeted for. With that being said, though, we have also recovered from other counties about $7,000 more in recoveries for those mental illness holds that were not related to Lincoln County. The next one is in the debt service for TIF number 8. We have collected more taxes. It's probably the delinquent taxes that we did collections on. So this just says that the money that I'm transferring, we just make the budget whole. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for our auditor? If not, is there any public input on this agenda item?
Sherry, where does this money come from?
The contingency, we have a fund, contingency fund, it's for this specific reason. We budgeted $200,000 for the small overruns that happen throughout the year that we didn't do a hearing for. And this technically could have been done under the consent agenda because it is budgeted, but I don't like to do things that way.
No, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, any public input on this agenda item?
Sorry. I know I'm going to take out my own purse. Amy Harms, Sioux Falls. Sherry, I'm just wondering if you can explain the $66,000 for health insurance.
All right, any other public input on this agenda item? All right, Sherry, would you like to address that?
Absolutely. So we budgeted $57,732 for employees' health insurance in the auditor's office. And when the employees changed, they may have taken different levels of insurance. So it caused an overrun of about $9,000.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion, please?
Otten, approve.
Thank you, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have board action to approve budgeted cash transfers.
Okay, so in order to balance the road and bridge budget, during the budget process, we did put in there for about $4 million $5,644,000 for cash to be transferred to the highway department to make it whole. We have had to use about $370,182.31. We've overrun on cash due to expenses or whatever, so that leaves us with a untransferred cash transfer of about $4,513,000. So this is a budgeted cash transfer. Again, this could have been done in consent, but we'll just roll with it this way.
All right, anybody have any questions for Sherry?
Sherry, do you have, I mean, maybe this is a question for Terry, but I'm going to ask you anyway since he's not here. Do you know why this came out to be this way?
Well, they have sold some equipment, so that increased or decreased the amount of money that we have to transfer. We were expecting to do $5 million in cash transfers to make their budget whole. So to only have to do 370, they have either saved money on projects, saved money on equipment they bought, or whatever. So it's considerably a less amount than what we budgeted to cover their overall spending.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, other questions? All right. Any public input on this agenda item? If not, could I get a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Second. Go ahead.
Got a motion
Betty.
from Aaron, second from Commissioner Otten. If there is no further discussion, Alicia, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is board discussion regarding funding issues with the local EM performance grant. And Harold's with us tonight. Good evening,
Good evening,
Harold.
Commissioners. Yeah, just my agenda item is a report only, it requires no action, but just informational. We received the email, like you see here, from our state office in Pierre, from our state director. They have been awarded a grant for the 2026 Emergency Management Performance Grant, and yet they haven't received the money, or the rest of the money for the 25 grant. I'm sure it got held up with the government shutdown and things like that went on. We will get that money, but we won't get it before the end of this year. So according to Sherry, that won't follow her books up too much to have that happen, but there's been times when we've waited for 3 quarters to get payment for the first 3 quarters all at once because the money gets delayed. And they've been trying to communicate with FEMA nationally, but the communication is limited due to some litigation going on from some states with FEMA, so they can't speak freely on some of these things. So when that litigation is done, or whenever this all gets settled, we'll get all our money, but it's just gonna take some more time. So when we figure my budget, we figure it without this grant coming in. So when my salary and administrative expenses get paid, it used to be 50%, now we've cut it back to 40% because of cutbacks, so we're hoping they don't cut it back anymore. Maybe that means I'll get shorter if they keep cutting it back, so I don't know.
There you go.
Anybody have any questions for Harold? Thanks, Harold.
If not, thank you, and I'll have a real good Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harold, you as well. Any public input on this agenda item? All right, if not, we'll move on to item 8 on our agenda. Review of Lincoln County Old Courthouse Committee and possible board action on next steps for the old courthouse. Good evening, Paul.
Hi, yes, Paul Anderson, your Commission Administrative Assistant. So first, I'm here to review the Old Courthouse Committee and look for direction on next steps. With the Lincoln County Justice Center still on target to open next September, we need to make decisions about what we're doing with the space that will be vacated by UJS. And budget time comes around sooner than you think, and before we know it, it'll be June. So it's probably time to start past time to start thinking about this, but now is as good a time as any to start thinking about what to do with the old courthouse. The Old Courthouse Committee met 3 times, June 3rd, 10th, and August 19th, and included Commissioners Schmidt and Aaron's as co-chairs, James Gibbon of Lennox, Jerry Jongling from Lincoln County Planning, Kevin Larson from Harrisburg, Chris Larson from Harrisburg, Douglas McKinney, Scott Montgomery, Chad Skiles, Liz Stanton, and Chris York of the Canton City Council. So this committee toured the old courthouse to get a sense of what the actual conditions were over there. They reviewed the 2020 report from Architecture, Inc. that detailed the structural and other issues with the old courthouse. And they heard estimated 2025 costs from Hugendorn Construction, who toured the building with our building superintendent, John Rambo, and gave the costs that they estimated based on their expertise in the construction business. And so with that, we had compiled a list of options. The committee took no votes to recommend a direction, but these were the options that were discussed as potentials. None of them are solid, or none of them are 100% certain, but these are the options as the committee thought best described them. I can go through them if you would like. Otherwise, I can turn it over to Commissioner Schmidt and Aaron to discuss their thoughts, and myself and John Rambo are here to answer any questions, as well as some other members of the committee.
Why don't you run If you would, Paul, would you want to run through the options
Yeah. so,
quickly? You don't have to
I'll
go into
in-
detail, but just outline the options.
Yeah, so the first one, option one, and these are not in order of importance or anything, these are just kind of the order that we came up with them in. The first one is a short-term fix in John's memo that he wrote. There's discussion about the structural integrity of the attic over there. So the short-term fix would be immediate roof upgrades with shingle replacement on the top and then some attic structural improvements in there, costing somewhere from $400,000 to $500,000. Option two was a remodel with a no full roof. So when I say no full roof with here, that means you're doing the structural improvements in option one, the $300,000, as opposed to a full roof fix for $1.6 million that was mentioned in the memorandum under section 6F in this other attachment here that I can pull up in a minute. So that would be immediate roof upgrades, a remodel of the interior, estimated on the mechanical. Those are guesses as to 2025 numbers. The 2020 numbers have not been updated for mechanical. They were for the construction. Engineering and architectural work and contingency. Option three was a full remodel with full roof fix for $9.6 million. That's the full roof fix and then all of the same things from option two. We received some quotes and some estimates for demolition with the facade fix to the exterior of the building. That would cost somewhere around $1,690,000. That would to include the demolition, the facade repair, the engineering, contingency, and asbestos remediation, which I think we recently were updated that that asbestos mitigation, instead of being $50,000, is probably closer to $15,000 to $20,000. And then you could always, there are two other options, which are you could leave the building as is with minimal utilities so you're not causing further issues, but then you don't really take any action. And six is not, this has not been discussed other than by the committee. It's not been broached with Canton, or this is just an option that was discussed by the committee, is discussions with City of Canton to allow them to take over the building and maintain it as their city hall. And again, all of these options would need to be solidified with bids and full engineering and all of that.
Anybody have any questions for Paul? All right,
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Schmidt, go ahead.
John, do you have any further information that you wish to share?
No, I stand firm on the numbers that we gave back then, with the exception of the change on the asbestos removal. I think you all kind of know that, I stand to believe what the people from Hugendorn said, and I believe they did a very good job of estimating what it would cost, so.
John, can you tell me the remodel of interior, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it'll be addressing the sheetrock, taking out the fiberboard on the walls. There'd be, obviously, depending on what's put over there, you would want to remodel it to fit that department or that type of structure. Some of that's a little bit unknown, because we don't really know what we'd put over there. But it would be an improvement in lighting fixtures, just like we're doing here. It'd be, switching up to LED lighting. It'd be an upgrade to the HVAC equipment and everything, so.
Does it include moving walls to make it fit anything that we might need?
That would be the hope, yes, for that number.
It doesn't include any furniture or anything
No.
like that? Okay. Thank you. Any other commissioners have questions?
What is the bottom line to spend all this money to do what?
We don't have a reason.
Okay?
I mean, the idea is that there may be need in the future for additional space. That's an unknown at this point. We could possibly put departments from this building in there, but there is additional space that's being freed up in this side of the building that can take some of that burden off of it, or most of that burden, in my opinion, so.
So at this point in time, we really don't have any use planned for that, but. you know,
Correct.
We have no immediate plans to move anybody over there. John, to make a long story short, and you guys were on the committee, you got two basic, and Commissioner Aaron's chime in, you got two basic thoughts here. When it's all said and done, do you want to fix the building up? And that was about a 20-year fix, if I am right, or something like that. And we had an estimated cost of $10 million or something. We would have to get an architect to come in and to do an evaluation on what it would be current prices. Now, whether that's going to be more, I'm assuming it will be more than what we've currently had from the 2020. So that's one. Two, we have to make our mind, or do you want to tear the building down and then put a facade up and potentially, we didn't talk about that, but potentially replace that with a community a community front, which could be used for commission purposes, it could be used for the Canton City Council, could be used for public hearings and stuff like that. So, those are your two basic questions. And I would imagine that this would call for a public vote to make sure that everybody gets a say on that, at least from my standpoint. So I think those are the two issues that we come down to. Commissioner Aaron's, any comments?
I've got a comment when we're ready.
Okay. I'd rather have our.
I'll give the floor to Commissioner Aaron's.
Okay.
Nope, Commissioner Schmidt, I'm just going to let you flail out there alone.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
No,
Commissioner go ahead.
I was just adding some levity there, Madam Chair.
Yep,
So,
go ahead.
Well, ultimately, it does boil down to two different directions you could take. I think the biggest concern was voiced from me, as well as what I heard from other committee members, is it is a tremendous amount of square footage that we currently have. And the biggest concern is do you look at this at a moment in time of what it cost? Or do you look at it over an extended period of time? Because if you do demolish it, you're going to save a little bit of short-term money, but then undoubtedly, there will be pressure to increase office space in the future, and then future inhabitants of this office are going to come back and say, well, be really nice if we had more square footage. And so then at some point in time, somebody's going to say, well, gosh, gee, why didn't we just keep that and fix it up? Well, because, the math didn't work or this and that. So I think at this point, it's a very difficult decision to make. And, but at the same time, if you take a long-term approach to this, maybe investing some funds now to rehab the structure actually saves us money in the long term, because trust me, I just think there is a lot of pressure in this courthouse and on people to want to expand and build more and increase square footage. And if we just keep the square footage we have now, we avoid that dilemma in the future. Thank you.
Are we done?
Go ahead, Commissioner Putnam.
Okay, there we go. Let's go at it in a business perspective. Simple. What's wrong with it right now that has to be, see that $9 million, that's a joke. It's being used right now the way it is. Does the roof need to be fixed?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. If we just fix the roof, we would have the building. We don't need to remodel nothing because we don't know what's going in there. The roof would be fixed for 20, 30 years, and then we can go ahead and do with whatever we want at the appropriate time and not spend probably $500,000 maybe to fix a roof.
I think one of the struggles is there has to be improvements to the rafter system. One part of the bid was to just put reinforcements, wraps, that type of stuff on the beams and make them better and replace what's rotten. And in Hugendorn's opinion, that was only gonna buy us a very few years. They didn't give me a number, but they were like, probably thinking like 5 to 6 years. But they were recommending if we want a 20-year life span, then to remove all the rafters and replace all of those to get that 20-year lifespan or more. The reason why they wouldn't go beyond 20 years, because we really don't know what's going on underground. We know the building has stood for 130 years, and it generally looks good, but we don't know what's going on underground, and it's old building, and unfortunately, when people say, you know, there's buildings in Europe that have lasted 300, 400, 500 years, they don't typically.
Sioux Falls, yeah.
But I mean, in Sioux Falls, they were probably tuck pointed. They're probably dug up and tuck pointed under buildings. I have been involved in projects like that, and typically that is what is done. But that's a big cost by itself, is to dig up all around the whole building and tuck point all of the rock material. I think if you did that, then yes, you could probably figure it's going to have longer than 20 years life expectancy.
But if we kind of took care of things and prolonged it for 5, 6 years, maybe spent a little bit more after that, maybe had things for it to do, and we'd have it, and it's not a big deal.
Hey, John, just procedural question, just so I know, everybody knows what we're talking about. Under option number 3, which is the 20-year lifespan, because you were talking about Hagedorn said do this. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the engineering and architectural for 1 million, is that where they nested the rafter work at? Is that what they were saying the rafters would cost?
That's to bring in the experts to tell us how to do the mechanical improvements and do the stuff inside the building.
Do you know where in those options the rafter work is
It's at the
nested?
top option, I believe.
Because I think when we talk about remodel of interior for 2.3 to 2.9, that does not include the rafter work. Because I think what we're trying to figure out here is, okay, if you're gonna do a phased approach, a multi-year phased approach towards, getting to that 20-year lifespan, it'd be helpful if folks knew, okay, phase 1 could potentially cost this, phase 2, that kind of goes towards Commissioner Putnam's question of, like, if you're gonna do the roof and then do the rafters. So I was just trying to, if you can pull that out of there and tell us what that is.
Right, and so when I met with them, they were talking about it being replacing the rafters, I think, for like $179.5, and then the shingles for another $94.5. So we're talking, that's where we came up with, what is it, 200 and, well, shingle replaces $94.5, and then, that, just the structural improvements was $300,000, right? And so that, again, is to buy that short-term fix. Now, I think, we could bring in other experts, we could have other people look at it and give their evaluation, but that's what Hugendorn is saying that would need to be probably to make it to where it's not gonna keep degrading immediately.
That would theoretically be phase 1.
But does that even include the engineering
Correct, it would not include that.
in that number?
Maybe not, I can't remember if that was included in that number or not.
My whole problem with this is that we're getting this from an architect, and they might be the best architect in the world, but we got a courthouse going up, and that what they thought they could do for the money they thought they could do it for, it was so far off base. I don't trust architect bids because of the thing I've went through with the courthouse. They were so underpriced
These numbers
that I don't trust these numbers at all. And I don't see any other engineering in this. So this $1 million, for instance, we paid $20,000 to have a gravel parking lot changed into asphalt. That was 20 grand. So that $1 million is just to come up with an actual plan that somebody can even price out. So these numbers are just, I don't have any faith in them at all.
These numbers are from Hugendorn Construction, not from an architect, so it is a
Okay.
builder. So we were hoping that to be more realistic, and I believe at the time it probably was more realistic, but I agree with you, it seems like every time we do something, it turns out to be, another 50%, if not 100% higher. Like, and I'll go back to the highway department, as you brought up before, we were thinking we could do that expansion for $450,000, and our lowest bid was $900,000. It does seem like it escalates very quickly, so I would be nervous it would be a lot more money, but
There's a girl in the room though. We're open to all of this, but we still have to find the funds to pay for this. And our budgets are not flushed. In fact, they are very tight. So where does that extra money come from? So we got two choices on that. You can either try to budget this out of your existing budget, where that would come from, I don't know. Or you have an opt-out. And you have an opt-out and you give the citizens a choice to say, do you want to spend the money to rehab this building for 20 or 30 years, and you do it right? You get the cost, and if it's 12 million, or I don't care. But then you've done this, and you've done it right. You haven't Band-Aided it. You're going to have a building that's going to be prime space that we can use for office, for expansion. We can use it for any number of things. That you can do. Or do you do the unthinkable? And that's emotional, to tear the building down and replace it with something else. So my version is, I'm not opposed to any of what we've been talking about, and you guys will get your chance to say this, but we got to pay for this somehow. And we always talk about taxes, and we always talk about this. And we're looking at a legislature that's trying to cut taxes and replace it with something. So, we got issues beyond the courthouse on how we're going to balance our budget, and in the meantime, pay for something like this. So.
Okay, can I speak now?
Go ahead.
Where do we come up with $1.5 million to tear it down?
so.
Yeah, for a few hundred, or let's say $500,000, we can have that, so it's good for 20 years. As far as remodeling the inside, that inside's been there for hundreds of years, 100 plus. When was it built? 18 something? Yeah. Yeah. That's just simple math.
So-
Spend $1.5 million, tear it down, or $2 million. We don't need to spend $25 million to remodel it, but if we tear it down, let's build another thing there. Oh, yeah, shit, yeah, so that'll only cost probably $50 million. It's not a big deal.
So, can I answer your question? So the number came from, when I met with JLG, the architects, they came up with a figure of $225,000 to demolish it, to take it down. That's just to take it down. Now, I've reached out to another company, they said it would be for them closer to $400,000. Now, that's the company that did other demolitions for us. At one point in time, a couple of years ago, it was kind of hem-hawed around, it'd be $500,000 to tear it down. So I don't know if $225,000 is an accurate number or not, but let's say it is. Then they said it'd be $540,000 just in materials and the building cost to separate this building from that building and to put a facade.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when none of this could get done without architectural and engineering support, and they're saying that in itself would be an additional $400,000.
I totally understand that, but just for fixing the roof so it's good for 10, 20 years, then kick the can down the road. And if nobody wants to use it, maybe you tear it down someday, maybe you just leave it. And maybe you can utilize a few things, put a dog park in there, I don't know, but they're spending $20 million to renovate, it's a joke. That's all I can say. So I guess if people could vote on it and say, we want to get rid of it, that's fine. Or these four just say, oh, we got to get rid of it, that's fine, whatever.
Madam Chair, I'd like to hear from some of the members of the committee.
There we go.
I am going to open it up for public input on the agenda item. Thank you, John.
Yeah, Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. You know, I sat on that committee, and, you know, there's no easy decisions here. But I go back to the 2020 work that was done, documented, had pictures of all the work that was needed to be done. None of that got touched. And it was absolutely 100% ignored. The gutters that were coming off there 5 years ago with pictures, not attached to the downspouts, were still laying there 5 years later. Now, what the heck is going on here? If you destroy the foundation of that building by letting the water all run in, which you did, I mean, it was $10,000 to build that up and fix those gutters, get the water so it'd run away from the building. Did we do it? No. Why? I mean, that disgusts me no end. This commission and this people that work for you are responsible for taking care of our buildings. Are we gonna do the same thing with the new courthouse? Are we gonna ignore the maintenance needs to be done there? I mean, it disgusts me no end. I don't remember what the dollar figure was for doing that work 5 years ago, but was considerably less than anything we're talking about right now. I'd like to see something done with that building. Is it the building? I don't know, but like Doug says, for $500,000, we can keep it up and going for, you know, I've been up in that so-called structure that's all falling apart. How many times has it gone through 100-mile-an-hour winds now, still standing? I mean, it isn't leaning, it isn't anything, and they're trying to tell us we need to put all new beams in there? For what? Because they say so. It's still standing straight as an arrow. So why do we need to put new beams in there? I mean, I think we're getting sold a bill of goods here. So that's my opinion. I know it's probably not very popular, but if we got property here that we're not taking care of, shame on us.
Thank you, Scott.
Any other public input on the agenda item?
Doug McKinney, Canton. On November 3rd of 2020, there was a bond election for the jail up in T, a $50 million bond. I'm going to play a little audio here that's 1 minute and 45 seconds, and it explains a lot.
He's ready to be at the table to talk about an even longer-term deal with Lincoln County.
And this bond was also supposed to cover renovation costs for the Lincoln County Courthouse. So where do those go? Are those still going to happen even though this bond measure didn't get passed?
Well, yeah, and so what viewers need to know is that there was an effort by the proponents of the jail to want to throw in at the last minute in an effort to seek public support for the not-so-popular jail measure to throw the repairs in for the county courthouse. But before that had happened, all 5 commissioners had said they would support repairs to the county courthouse down in Canton. So where we need to go now with such a resounding defeat, even though the repairs probably need to be made to the courthouse, we've got to solicit a lot of public input now before we start spending a lot of taxpayer money. And so this time around, before this commission repeats the same errors that it did here over the last year, we've got to bring the public in, we've got to solicit their input, we've got to give them a seat at the table, and then we've got to explain to them why the courthouse repairs are needed. So the public is a valuable partner in this process, and unfortunately they know they were excluded from the jail process. So we're going to bring them into the courthouse repair fix discussion, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions with the public and other partners.
Absolutely. Once again, Lincoln County Commissioner Joel Ahrens joining us live this morning talking about.
Okay, that bond was for $50 million. I did a little more research, and all I could find that the jail was going to cost $26 million. That was $24 million left over. Where was that going to go?
Any other public input on this agenda item? Good evening, Chad.
Chad Skiles, member of the Old Courthouse Committee, longtime Lincoln County and City of Canton resident, and human wrecking ball blocker. So what I see happening here is that I don't think that the two extremes on each end are viable options. One being tear down the building, the other being the $20 million complete refix. I'm encouraged to hear the discussion tonight from you as a commission that something in between, in the middle, could be a workable solution. My impression from attending the meetings, I think that most of the committee were probably on board with something in the middle as well. And I can't speak for the other members of the committee, but I can speak for myself that we would be more than willing to continue that process if need be, to come up with something in the middle that could make this work and save our old courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public input on this agenda item?
Linda Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. Every time I hear tearing down that building, it makes my ire go up, because that building will stand longer than most of the new houses around. Let's face it. Tear it down, and it's been already said. You'll tear it down and you need more space. And then you want a new building. We did a new Justice Center, because for 5 years, you made it impossible to use that building because no maintenance was done. Now, I find that just the hardest pill to swallow. You had the money, apparently, according to that thing we just heard. We had the money. Well, we still must have the money. What did it go, how did it go from repairing and maintaining that courthouse? Where is that money now? That's why every time that I look at the budget, and we add more things to the budget, but we're not doing the things that should be done, and that courthouse is one. I love the thought of a city hall there. I love the thought of you being able to move people that are in crowded conditions over to a new space. And then you can make do. I mean, I've worked in a lot of places, and I had a lot of offices, and I had to make that office, work. We can't always build something new at the whim, or remodel something at the whim of someone who's going to move out into that office. Now, what we can do to save some money is look at the money we're spending on the current Justice Center. We talked about tables, found out how much money's been spent on tables. I'm sorry. We did not have citizens on a board talking about how is that money going to be spent for that Justice Center. And right now, I consider, I always hear when something else is added, like 6 state's attorney's offices, well, we're still under budget. No. If you came under budget, your taxpayers would be standing up and cheering you. Not, how can we spend all that money, and aren't we good that we can add these things and not go over budget? That courthouse over there is still viable, is still standing. I trust Scott, who went up there and looked at those rafters. I believe that. And how many times have people actually gone up there and looked? I really hope that you listen and come up with a viable option, because I believe that building has life in it yet Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Other public input on this agenda item? All right, if not, I'll open it up to commission discussion.
I got one more thing to say.
Go
That
ahead.
nobody will ever believe I ever said. Thank you, Chad.
It is. It must be the Christmas spirit.
Is there anyone wanting to take any action?
Right, wrong's wrong. He was right.
I think, Commissioners, I'm pretty well set that this is a countywide courthouse. And certainly there are strong feelings, which I fully respect and understand. And I have probably, being one of the more senior members of this commission, got more memories in that courthouse than any of my contemporaries do. I graduated in the 8th grade from that courthouse. However, having said that, I believe that the taxpayers of this county, because they're going to have to come up with the money for this thing, should have some kind of vote on what it is that we do with that building. That's just my own feeling on that. So, we got a lot of people, we got 65,000 people that live in our county, and they're going to have to end up paying in the long run for whatever decision that is finally made. So,
Are there any commissioners who would like to take action on this agenda item tonight?
Madam Chair, what action would have to be taken would be, were we willing to put money up to get further information and pertinent numbers that we can deal with that are not conjecture on the part of Mr. Hugedorn, fine man, great respect, but are we willing to put up that money to get numbers so that we can show the public what it actually will cost to do some of the short-term fixes or whatever we decide, so. But I'm not going to propose, because I know we don't have any money for that.
Time don't mean nothing to the building.
Can I just point something out?
Yes.
If the bond didn't pass in 2020, those funds aren't there. And so there was comments about those funds being available.
No.
What happened to those? The bond
Right,
didn't pass,
that was
so
a
those aren't
bond issue.
available.
That was a bond issue,
Yeah.
and for the record, it was $32 million to do the jail and the courthouse and everything else that was up at T. Anyway.
So again, I'm going to ask if there are any commissioners that want to take action on this agenda item this evening. If not, then I'm going to move on to our opportunity for public comment. Any, for items that are not on the agenda, if anybody wishes to come forward, now would be the time to do so.
Scott Montgomery again. I was greeted here tonight by Jim Schmidt, and he jabbed me with a little bit on the data centers that are being talked about around here. And I had the opportunity of being at the Growth Summit here a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. And there was a lot of misinformation there. I was highly disappointed that what was talked about. They said we have excess energy in South Dakota, we need to do something with it. I asked how much, couldn't get an answer. I mean, the one they want to build there, North Sioux Falls, 500 megawatts. I don't think we got an extra 500 megawatts sitting around. And if we do, there's something wrong. But this morning, my daily devotional. Now, you got to understand, these data centers are asking for favors from each and every county, the state. They want to be non-taxed on their equipment in there. What the heck's wrong with this? Well, the other states do it. Well, let the other states have them then. But here was my daily devotional this morning. No favoritism. In 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant was stopped for recklessly driving his carriage through Washington, D.C. One published account says the officer, an African-American named William West, warned Grant, "Your fast driving, sir, is endangering the lives of the people who have to cross the street." Grant apologized. But the next night, he was racing carriages again. West stopped Grant's horses. "I'm very, very sorry, Mr. President, to have to do it. For you are the chief of the nation. I'm nothing but a policeman. But duty is duty." West arrested the president. I admired this brave man for doing his duty. So did Grant. He praised West and made sure he kept his job. God was also pleased, for he hates the injustice of favoritism. James wrote, "Believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ must not show favoritism." That's from James 2. That includes not giving special favors to the rich and powerful, leaving only leftovers for the poor. Instead, we're called to love our neighbors as ourselves. If we play favorites, serving our planetarium club neighbors rather than the less privileged, we sin and are convicted by the law as lawbreakers. God didn't play favorites with us. He loved us when we had nothing to offer, when we were without hope and without God in the world. With His help, we can love all people equally. Why is favoritism such a harmful thing? How might you avoid playing favorites? That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public input tonight?
Good evening, Commissioners and staff. I'm Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. A couple of weeks ago, you heard about a hand count expo that some of our Lincoln County personnel, our citizens, went to. And approximately 80 citizens were certified in hand counting. Those 80 will go back to their homes and home communities and teach people how to hand count. That Hand Counting Expo was a national work of art, as far as I'm concerned. The president has been asked for and did receive the video of that election of the citizens counting 1,000 ballots in 4 hours. That was fully filmed. And also all the data, the gold standard elections that I gave you are part of this handbook that the citizens who are certified will take home and teach the gold standards to hand counting our election. Now, I'm sure you ask yourselves again, why is this so important to me? I was one of the citizens who have fought for 5 years to get CVRs and audit logs from the tabulators. 5 years. We took that twice to court and were lawfared. Citizens in 6 counties were lawfared. They weren't allowed to petition their commissioners to do anything. They wanted to have a vote before the people to either use the machine or hand count. They were denied that by their commissioners. With the same lawyer that you've hired with the uncertified laptops that we're currently using, the questions that I would love that brought to a public hearing, but I realize once that the lawyers get involved, that can't be done, but I think that is a disservice to us as citizens. So I want free, fair, and transparent elections. And to me, the only way to do that is by hand counting at the precinct level. Now, the other book that came out just now is Stolen Elections. I ordered one for you guys to share because between the handouts and this book, it gets a little expensive. But this tells about what our machines are all about and who actually controls them and what they actually are and who has the source code. That's the most important thing in these elections, also of what's in the machine. We have never been allowed, we bought these machines and we aren't allowed to open them. It's like buying a car and not looking under the hood. You just have to trust the manufacturer. You take it to the shop and only their people can change the oil. Can't change the oil, can't look under that hood. Otherwise, that your car will no longer be worth any money because you can't sell it. So I'm going to continue, as this year starts in a couple of weeks, to fight for free, fair, and transparent elections. Our elections, I'm a soldier. I'm a retired soldier. I will always be a soldier and protect that Constitution and people's right to vote and to know that their vote actually counts. the CVRs that I talked about before the last election, sorry, my mouse is getting dry. The Secretary of State stood up and said, yes, they are public record. But come to find out, when I went all excited, no, we were lawfared again.
I know you want to just finish up
Sure,
your
I'll-
comment, please.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
will be more than happy. If I gave you guys the handouts, I hope you read them. If you decide that you really don't want to look at them, please just leave them on your desk and I'll give them to someone who wants to read them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Other public comment this evening? All right, if not, then we're going to move on to our commissioner report. Our commission office
I have
report.
something to say when it's time.
Do you have a report tonight, Paul? Okay, we'll go ahead to commissioner reports. Go ahead, Commissioner Putnam.
Okay, I want to talk about the airport. And, I guess I ended up with Mr. Smith on the airport board, maybe, I don't know. But that didn't work out. I had David from the airport and three of the airport guys there that are on a kind of a little board in my office. And we were talking about what it cost the airport and how much we're losing and everything. And they contended that we're losing about 50,000 maybe, you know. And so I had gotten a paperwork from Sherry, send it to me. And it was a report that's for the last 8 years, what this airport had cost us besides their little micromanaged deal. And it come out to $1.970,560 over 8 years. That's what it cost you people. That was put in, and these people sitting in my office, they all denied it. No, that can't be, that can't be. Well, Sherry didn't lie, the auditor doesn't lie, and paperwork. How do I want to say this? Figures don't lie, just liars figure. But anyhow, so henceforth, boy, I never got to talk to anybody else. So I wanted to call up those board members, and I tried to get a hold of David, and he wouldn't take my call. I wanted their numbers and talked to him. Jim, he come over and he talked to the other three, and I wasn't privy to it. And we got to finish this. We got to finish it, you know. And so Joel, he says, well, did you talk to Doug? Well, no. His phone goes to voicemail. Both of them. I've got way more important people call me and never have a problem getting me. So then, they vote on the 40, which was better than the 35 that they had offered. So we did a little bit better and then ended up with a half a cent. But this whole thing, trying to get things done and doing, is a sad affair. And you people are losing money every day on that airport. We have a possibilities. Somebody's infinite wisdom paid $1 million for 20 acres. And it was a good deal because FAA paid us back, I guess.
Commissioner, this is for reports.
It
It's
is. I want
informational
this on the
only.
record.
It's for informational purposes only.
That's right, it is informational.
It's not for you to
Listen to
take
everybody
position,
here.
stand on anything,
It doesn't, it's
and
informational.
it's not on our agenda.
And I want it in the record. so let me speak.
No, you no longer have the floor. Are there other commissioners who'd like to make a report?
What a horseshit deal.
Commissioner Aaron's, do you have a report you'd like to make?
Yeah, do it, boy, just do it.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. McKinney there. As the kids say, that interview aged well, didn't it? There's just some certain universal truths that stand the test of time. I guess that was one of them. When I first heard you play that, I thought, oh geez, am I going home embarrassed tonight or what? So thank you. But no, I mean, I think these commission reports ought to serve as an opportunity for commissioners to be able to just tell people what they're thinking. So,
But obviously, that don't work.
yeah, and I mean, I just want to hear the remainder of what Commissioner Putnam has to say.
Can I do that?
No, you may
Would
not. If
everybody
you would
like to hear me?
something on the agenda, you can put it on
How
the
about
agenda.
you guys out there? Would you like to hear me? Yeah.
Commissioner
Because
Otten,
it's
do you have a
in
report you'd
your
like to
benefit.
Go ahead, Commissioner Otten.
Well, I'm going to give this to you for Wendy's file, but Wendy Sweeter of our 4-H she was granted a national award down in Atlanta, Georgia, she was recognized as a National Communication Award winner. And this was her picture that was in the paper. So I'm going to give that to you for her file because, I mean, Wendy does an awesome job, and we don't know that unless somebody brings that up and gives her a kudos. And then also I had talked to our chair to see if I could bring this up, and she said yes. Well, after our November 4th commission meeting regarding the emergency medical services districts, the facts and vettings in the agenda explained growing concern for the cost and quality of services provided by emergency services in rural Lincoln County. Commissioners are proposing a committee to evaluate the best approach and avenues moving forward. Well, on that note, after discussions with both Chair Landine and our attorney Drew, I set up an informal meeting regarding ambulance funding roundtable discussion on December 17th, last week, 6 to 9 p.m. at the 4-H building, and invited leaders in both EMT and fire services across Lincoln County and eastern Turner County. I made it clear that this would be an informal roundtable, not a formal meeting of the commission, not putting the county in a financially liable situation that we'd be paying for. I was very careful that I didn't do that up front. So not knowing who or what to expect, we had 49 representatives show up for our first great discussion. A tax district will tax everyone. Well, I had Nate Vanderplatz give his thing about the tax district, and then he had Alan Perry with him. And so we found out that a tax district will tax everyone at the same rate for all properties. It will shift the tax burden to rural property owners. Rural property owners will have about 50% of the calls, but will pay 80% of the new tax. And a formula based on calls should be developed and will be the basis of our next meeting. We also had, I want to thank, Chad was there, Harold Timmerman was there, and Sherry was there out of this group here. And so Chad's boss also gave a huge discussion. It was Robert Keys, and also he brought Scott Larson, all of them. I mean, we didn't know really what to expect. I certainly didn't, because it's not my round. It's not what I'm familiar with. But I think everybody at first didn't have a clue what we were going to be getting into. But it was a very good discussion. It was respectful. Chad was there to answer questions about things that other people didn't even know about the ambulance district. So I want to thank you for that too, for being there. Harold was there and he answered questions, and again, it was very informal, so people could just get up and ask questions all through those 3 hours. And I think at the end of the meeting, we had time for people just to stand around and talk where they realized that they weren't being pounded on. And so I just wanted to bring that forward after discussion. So the comments would be, we need regional wider discussions because there's never been one throughout it. And the other comment, it was a great start, but should lead to wider discussions. And then I also found out that there are 3 EMT bills that will be introduced this upcoming legislative session. So I also want to take this time and thank John and his crew for setting it up because it was beautifully set up, it was clean, it was wonderful. And then also for Wendy Sweeter for taking the opportunity to train me on the equipment. So thank you for the time to update everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Otten. Commissioner Schmidt, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Doug, perhaps not
I
to...
don't want to hear a damn thing. I couldn't talk, you didn't talk.
Doug,
Doug,
will you be professional and just listen?
Okay, I'll listen to you.
If you want to put this on, put it on the agenda as an agenda item.
All right.
And you can bring it up.
We're not going to do this
Enough of
back
this.
and forth. Commissioner
All I want to tell
Schmidt.
you, Doug, and all of you, it's Christmas Eve tomorrow night. We got to remember why we're celebrating Christmas, and it is supposed to be that we appreciate all the benefits and all the opportunities that we have. I do not want to see us leave this today in a rancor situation. I also want to just remember that we gave a good quote, Scott. It's peace on earth, goodwill toward men, and celebrate the birth of the Christ child. So I thank members of the committee that were on that, were with the courthouse, but I also want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schmidt. Do we need executive session, Drew? No executive session? All right, with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All right, we're adjourned. Merry Christmas, everyone.